Hello, my name's Keith Kelly and I'm here to talk about TrashedWorld, which is a new online platform for schools exchanges investigating the theme of rubbish and our relationship with trash in our lives while learning English at the same time, developing a life skill, awareness of this important aspect of our lives and learning English. It was developed by myself and a good colleague, Keith Halstead, and I'm here to launch it to the world today. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough as quick as possible for a presentation I'm going to give at the Bulgarian English Teachers Association conference in a few weeks, and I thought I'd do this clip to run through it once and also use it to give other teachers access to what we do on the site and what's available, so they know what to expect and they can decide if they want to get involved. You can see here all aspects of materials available on the site in the left column, and the videos aspect is a key aspect of the site. We took the documentary movie Trashed, narrated by Jeremy Irons from Blenheim Films, and we created an archive of around 50 short clips for learning activities, and the students pages involve activities completely revolving around these videos in this archive. We wanted to exploit the content of the films for getting students involved in rubbish and learning English at the same time. Another key aspect are the investigation sheets. We've tried to create investigations throughout the programme where students can take a step back and have a look at their own lives and collect information about rubbish in their own lives, in their own behaviour, in their families' routines, their local communities, how their cities or towns or villages organise themselves to do with rubbish. And then the key aspect links these classrooms with partner classrooms around the world. We created a search engine where visitors can find partners, find out what they're doing, where they are, what time of the year they're available for exchange, and then start working together. Because I find from my own experience of language teaching and learning for many years, young people need to talk to each other. They need to have their worlds opened so that they can communicate with other cultures and learn how things are done in different ways and share ideas and develop that way. Registration is free, but subscription access to most of the materials is €10 per year. Today at the conference we'll be giving registration to some lucky colleagues. You get a free unit, and we've got 6 copies of the original movie to give away, and the badges, and you get the chance to join this amazing global network of TrashedWorld warriors. The only theory I'm going to mention is this comes from a course I did at Manchester University, and one of the lecturers there, Richard Fay, opened my eyes to this framework for developing intercultural communicative competences. And the basic idea here is, if you look at the AA, the BA, the AB and the BB, is in order to be a competent intercultural communicator, you need to have experience and understanding of how your own culture sees itself. So culture A's view on culture A. You also need to see how the other culture views your culture. So B on A. Let's take Bulgaria and Britain as 2 cultures. So how Bulgaria views the British culture. What's their stereotype of the British culture and understanding of it? You need to know how your culture sees the other culture. So how the British view the Bulgarian culture. And you need to know how the Bulgarian culture views itself. So B on B. If you can do all of that, you're going a long way to be able to manage cultural experiences between these 2 countries. And that's what we've got here. TrashedWorld offers different cultures the chance to come together and share their experiences, albeit within this important area of trash. The principle is applicable to any cultural experiences. And this is a screenshot of the website. You can see Jeremy walking along a beach, I think it's in Lebanon, covered in rubbish, and we visit parts of the world where he goes and talks about what's happening there, what the problems are there, and what's being done to solve the problem. We took TrashedWorld because we've got a definition there in a little white box, a world which is destroyed by the rubbish people throw away, and we want to do something about it. You can see here an organised structure for the first module, Trash, the World and Me. We've got what's the problem, we've got guiding questions for each unit, and students have a look at global issues, global information, world statistics to do with the trash problem. They have a look at Unit 2, what are we throwing away? They get study materials that have a look at types of trash and the problems they cause. And Unit 3, having a look at specifically the types of things that happen to trash, the types of collection that are organised for different types of trash, and get students investigating what happens in their home context. We've got a clip here to have a look at. The first unit, Jeremy gets us thinking about how perfect it all looks. And will that work? I'm not sure if that will. Will it let me work? Let's try that. Yes. Looks perfect, but what are we doing to upset this wonderful planet of ours?
From space, it's hard to see any evidence of mankind on Earth, or the effects we're having on our planet's finite resources. From up here, it looks perfect.
So, but what are we doing to upset this beautiful planet? It looks perfect, but there are a lot of things we're doing to upset this balance, this beauty of our planet.
It's only when we look more closely that we start to see some of the results of our consumption, particularly the one that's rarely talked about: waste.
And here in this moment where there's no narrative, we're getting students thinking about what they're seeing. We're asking them to have a look at consequences of our global consumption and the waste we create. So they'll be picking up descriptions from the scenes that they're looking at and making a note of those in the study materials. Plastic bags. The problem of dumps and pollution, toxic waste created from dumps and landfills, the effects that has on communities all over the world. Okay, we're almost through that. Such an impressive clip to see. And that takes us nicely into the next clip. After the students have fed back on aspects of consumption that they see in those clips, and they can relate those to their own lives, we go to a specific context. And that's the city of Saida in Lebanon. And the students do specific listening viewing activities as well as gist listening viewing activities.
I've always enjoyed beachcombing, and as a child I would search for sea glass, bits of wood. But in the 50 years since then, things have changed. The treasure I used to find in the sand has been replaced by trash. I want to know why. Exactly how much rubbish we produce. What we do know is that with 7 billion of us, we're making more garbage now than at any other time in history.
We're not really encouraged to know, are we?
Affecting the land, the air, the seas, and ultimately us.
We're not really encouraged to take responsibility for it either, unless we have to pay for the bags, for example.
Historically, we've always buried our trash, but it seems that now we sometimes don't dig, we just dump. Since 1975, waste from the ancient Lebanese city of Saida, now a suburb of Beirut, has been brought here to an uncontrolled dump on the edge of the city. Over 80 tons of it every day. What was a sandy beach has been replaced by a trash mountain. Well over 40 meters in height. As the rubbish decomposes, chemicals leach into the ground. Methane, a pernicious greenhouse gas, regularly blows over the city's nearly 200,000 inhabitants. And the tumbling trash and liquid runoff flows directly into the sea, affecting the local fishermen and their livelihoods. Just a local.
And what Jeremy's going to talk about now is the consequences of that dump inside in Lebanon. And we use this map in the study materials, and the students are asked to colour in the map based on the description from Jeremy as he does that now.
Just a local problem, because over there is Italy, up there is Cyprus, Syria's next door, and north of Syria is the Turkish coast. And there have been complaints from all those countries about the garbage that floats up onto their beaches, much of which comes from this garbage mountain here.
So from one single dump you can see the massive consequences for a whole sea, a whole region, almost a whole section of a whole couple of continents you can see. And that sets the context for students having a look at their own local contexts and how rubbish affects habitats and environments where they live locally. This is what a couple of the pages look like from the study materials. We've got some nice artwork, we've got some facts about trash that we've tried to incorporate, and they are a range of reading and listening and vocabulary activities, and speaking, paired speaking and group speaking, discussions and debates, as well as writing, producing many different products, not just written text but also posters and PowerPoints, interviews and questionnaires of their own. We try to make it as varied as possible, and actually it's a very thorough dealing with the language in a way that, you know, you've got this kind of bridge between a content focused approach and a language focused approach, which really is CLIL, content and language integrated learning, because you wouldn't go into such detail in a language textbook, and you wouldn't have so much language support in a content textbook, perhaps geography or science. The gist, viewing and listening, and then specific viewing and listening and watching.
Although we've been dumping our waste into the world's oceans for thousands of years,
Effects on different animals.
the trash from the last few decades, which many scientists fear poses the biggest threat yet.
And here the students are writing in the table, in the study materials, what the animal is that's affected by the particular damage and destruction that's caused by the waste. I'll move it on. So we move on to looking at the global situation from one particular context in the Lebanon, and the students look at data for, you know, the major waste producers using a map you can see, and they have to locate using whatever maps are available, could be Google or Wikipedia, and find which countries are given which tonnage of waste they have there in the matching activity above. And then they're asked to create a map of their own area with the dumps and the landfill sites and the recycling plants, if there are any, or incinerators, and begin to create an awareness and understanding of what's happening and how and where the waste is dealt with where they live locally. In another unit, we get the students to have a look specifically at plastic, and we've got this idea of creating a plastic time capsule, because plastics are different in different parts of the world, or they're used for different purposes, and some countries are more advanced in not using as much plastic and more recyclable types of plastic, let's say, than others. And so there's a cultural artifact here that the students can create and stick in a time capsule, bury it if they like, or send it to their exchange partner so that the classroom can open it and have a look at the bits of plastic that have come from Bulgaria and gone to Britain, for example. There's a unique glossary in every pack, and that offers a thorough walk through the key terms and peripheral terms as well, with an explanation and an example sentence, a context sentence. There's also the opportunity to link to Quizlet, and I think this will work if I open this. Let's have a look. This is on my website on TrashedWorld, and I set this up to have some Quizlet activities, and you can see here with the word lists we've got activities that the students can do themselves. Noun, using up or eating food or resources consumption, and they can go through these, breaking down into smaller parts, decomposes, to make a hole in the ground by removing earth, etc. That's all sorts of things you can do on Quizlet, and we've populated an archive in Quizlet with vocabulary lists, the glossaries from all of our units, and they're all free for anybody to use. This is the learn section. You can see questions and answers. You get them wrong, the application remembers your answer and retests you later. When you go back, there are games to play here where you've got to drag things together. Greenhouse gases, which contribute to the Earth's warming. Can't find it. Where is it? The results, consequences, changes. It's a noun. Effects. There we go. That must be effects. Liquid that falls down from a height. Runoff. Greenhouse gases. There it is. Ta-da. And you get timed and so on. There's also the spell. I missed that. What was that? Coast. So you spell it, and you get it right, and you carry on. And there's also multiple choice questions as well. That's brilliant. Great for kids working on their own. We also take a quite philosophical view to the project. Both Keith and I are very keen on what it represents. It's about getting young people thinking about this important aspect of our lives and the planet, the life of the planet. So we're challenging and changing behaviour, and some of the clips are quite shocking.
It's not about what might happen in some distant future. Our beach is already full of rubbish. The air is tainted with man-made chemicals, and our oceans are turning into toxic soup of floating debris.
The issue of sustainability is the single biggest challenge to our civilization. The best place to start that change is with waste.
Professional packaging people would have us believe that life would be impossible without their services.
when I speak to packaging industry, they say they're mainly interested in getting goods safely to the market. I've no objection with that, except perhaps where it comes into conflict with dealing with the waste at the end of the lifetime. And if this one's easy to recycle and that one isn't, then why do we need to go down this route? Per milliliter of liquid getting to you, this one is using more or less twice as much plastic per mill of drink that you consume as this one. So that's costing more to transport, it's more petrochemical that's being used in its manufacture, it's more waste to dispose of, and it's hard to dispose of. So I really query what we're doing in some cases. And
he's right. Why use certain plastics if they're harder to make and harder to get rid of and harder to recycle than others? And we get students questioning themselves and also their families and communities about behaviour. So we hope to start some thinking that might change behaviours with questionnaires like this, where we get them to look at how they do their shopping and how they buy their goods, what the packaging is, and get them to try different ways of buying things without packaging, for example. This is a really lovely picture from our first pilot group, or at least the first class we managed to visit at the French grammar school in Plovdiv, and Miss Daniela Christova and her prep class students. They're 13, 14-year-olds, and they have just received their certificates for participating in the TrashedWorld pilot period. We've got a Facebook page, which is TrashedWorld. You'll find it if you search that in Facebook. You're welcome to join us there. There'll be lots of news about the things we do there. And for the future, we'll be looking at producing more lessons, geography-focused lessons, chemistry and biology units, looking more specifically at the chemistry of toxic waste and biodegradability of plastics or not in chemistry. What happens to the body when it's consuming and digesting elements of plastic? What happens within the human body when that happens? I mean, these are all things that we can get biologists to write, chemists to write for us. Economics and waste, a cyclical economy will need to happen sometime in the future, because we just can't go on the way we are. And partnering events for schools around the world, we hope to get sponsors and support so we can bring schools together and showcase collaboration between classrooms. And also exhibitions at museums and galleries and science centres. So join us. You can write to me, Keith P. Kelly at yahoo.co.uk if you need any information, and find us at trashedworld.com. You'll be very welcome there.